Hello and welcome to Just Like Me. I am here with Hannah Violette. I'm very excited to do this interview today because over the last, maybe it's been about a year, huh, Hannah?
About a year and a half, 2 years in December.
You've been a member. I was going to say over the last year, I've been witnessing and reading about some pretty significant changes in your life.
Oh, well, yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was talking about. Yeah. So, I've just been like super eager to interview you. And I know probably a lot of our other members have been hearing about the changes as well that have been going on, but I think it's going to be really exciting to be able to talk to you about it here and have it all in one place rather than in a bunch of different places. And so I'm really excited about that because I think it's been a big transformation for you over the last little while. And there, like any transformation, I love that. I love the archetypal journey of the phoenix in down through the fire through the ashes. Like there's that painful part, but you're actually through the ashes now, and I think you're experiencing some of the joy of coming through that grit too. so so I'm excited to talk to you about that, but that's a little bit premature maybe right now. So that's a little teaser of what's to come in this interview, I think. But let's talk about how we usually start, about how you arrived here, how you first found Namaste Yoga, and maybe what attracted you, and how you started yoga and all of that.
Gosh, how did I start yoga? Oh, I started, you know, I remember seeing yoga the first time when I was about 8 years old on our public TV station back in the 70s.
Wow.
That lady, she was wearing tights and her leotard, and there was a great big sun on the wall in the background, and I just thought it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen.
Yeah,
I,
those tights
I,
would have sealed the deal back then, right?
right? And, I didn't understand. I don't remember if I tried to do it or not, but that was my first exposure was on public TV.
Yeah.
And, there was no funky music in the background. It was just, this woman and these poses. And so that was my first exposure. And, I did a little bit of ballet work and Pilates work as I went through my teen years. And then I think probably in my early 30s, so, in the early 2000s, I was strolling through Costco and I saw in their media section there was a box and it said Om Yoga in a box. And I thought, hey, that sounds fun. And, I was, a larger woman and I needed some kind of exercise that wasn't going to kill me in the first 10 minutes. And so I picked up, it was Cindy Lee's Om Yoga in a box.
Yeah.
And it came with her CDs and a strap and a candle and all that.
Awesome.
And, uh, and so I just started doing it. And it was really hard for me because
Mhm.
some of the, when you're larger and you've got all these tight muscles that haven't been worked in a while, it was hard, but I found and she didn't have a great big spiritual component to it. It was, pretty much just relaxation and stretching and all that. But I found that when I did it, I always, even though I struggled through some of it, by the end of the class, I just felt different. I felt better and a little more confident in myself. So I used that Om Yoga in the box. In fact, I still have it on a shelf somewhere.
That's
I
awesome.
used that for several years, and had
Nice.
different, I put different playlists on so I could do different routines. It wasn't all the
Cool.
same. And then, oh gosh, November of 2013, getting into winter where we are, and I knew my outside 5K training, or my attempts at 5K training were coming to a close because we were approaching sub-zero weather, and I thought,
Mhm.
well, I'm kind of tired of this yoga in a box. I've been doing this for a long time. Let's see what's out there. And so I just Googled, and there
Yeah.
you were.
Nice. So,
So I
what
did.
did you start with? Because you
I,
weren't a
I
beginner.
I was still kind of a beginner. I mean, maybe a beginner to an intermediate. I mean, I could, but I wasn't a regular practitioner. I would do it, here and there, and um, I I don't know what episode I started with. It was whatever was there, but I instantly just was so attracted to your. Um, I've been teaching all week long, so I have no more vocabulary.
Style?
Style or your personableness. You're just like
Mm.
you were right there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kept coming back, and then I said, well, this is only once a week. I'm going to join the membership site and
Nice.
get everything.
Yeah, that's
So,
great. Yeah, and I've always been attracted to from the beginning, like how deep you went with the classes, right from the beginning.
oh, that's kind of my personality.
Yeah,
I've always had a real metaphysical bent, and
yeah,
And so, everything in life for me is kind of a parable and, signifies something else. And so where I was when I started, I was neck deep in social service work
mm,
and dealing with very difficult people. And what I found in my life is that things I notice in other people are things that are going on inside of me.
hmm,
So I do remember one thing I posted about being, as I was in Shavasana, and I started thinking about different people I was working with and their journeys, and it's like, oh my goodness, she was just in corpse pose for a while, and now she's ready to get up and go. And it was
yeah,
so exciting to me to see that connection. So, and it helped me, those connections I was making for myself really helped me to work with difficult people in my job. So,
yeah. Say more about that.
say more about that. Oh, oh, that. Well, and I also realized that, it's kind of my own life too.
Mhm.
We have these, every now and again when I'm in a pose, it's like, oh my gosh, this is just like the rest of my life. Like when
Yeah,
you posted that one with, when we did the prayer circle on Namaste Yoga, and we
yeah,
had the prayer to the four directions.
yeah. That was powerful, huh?
That was very powerful.
Yeah.
And because I'm not looking at it right now, and because I'm now in my mid 40s and can't remember Jack to save my life, I can't remember which direction we were praying to, but it was about, basically being grateful for the death process because through
Hmm.
that comes new life.
Hmm.
And I realized, I remember just crying like crazy during that prayer because I realized that I was burying a lot in my life, burying an identity that I'd carried with me for many
Hmm.
years. I mean, I was super social worker for a long time,
Yeah,
and I'm
yeah,
saving the unsavable.
yeah,
and um, and so even though leaving that life was really important for me and important to I think my physical and my spiritual survival,
hmm,
um, it was still, a sense of disappointment for me and a sense of death for me,
yeah.
who I'd been for a long time.
It was a
And
huge loss.
yeah, and the idea that I couldn't do that work anymore. Well, one, Hannah can't not do anything because I can do everything.
Yeah,
I
right.
am. I want to find some Supergirl pajamas or something.
Hmm. Hmm.
But but as we went through that prayer, it was like, there's new life that's going to come out of this, and there's some
Hmm.
greater. There's a resurrection that's coming from this death, and and every now and again, a pose will strike me. Dancer pose just cracks me up these days
Yeah.
because because I took, it's funny. I took ballet when I was first in college.
Right.
I was about 19, and he was this great big fat girl in ballet, loving every minute of it.
Hmm.
Um, I call ballet three-dimensional music, and if music
Yeah.
had a body, that's what it would look like. And I was it the Namaste class last week? I can't remember, but we were in dancer pose for something, and I thought, I can't believe I'm doing this. I feel 19 all over again.
Love it.
you know,
Yeah.
it's like being in my little arabesque.
So it
Um,
allowed you to connect with that, like
it,
older adolescent part of yourself,
Yeah,
later
which was a
teen, young adult.
which was a really fun time of life because I was exploring so many things and 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 experiencing new interests and new directions. And so it's kind of nice to go back to that when you're 45.
In a lot of ways, that's where you are right now in your life.
Yes, yeah, it
since
is.
you've done this complete rebirth. So let's be clear for people who are maybe just catching up. I feel like you've kind of laid it out there, but for people that maybe haven't been following along, um, just catch them up, let them know what's happened in the last
Okay.
year or so.
Well, let's see. So, um, well, I want to say, actually, I think it really started about 2 years ago. Here's something kind of significant. Right before I found you, so this would have been in the late fall of 2013. Um, I had been in child welfare social work for 7 years, something like that, and I experienced a huge, huge trauma in my work where one of my foster parents was murdered.
Wow.
And it happened. It was a child that had been placed in their home,
Mm-hmm.
and
Wow.
huge trauma for me.
Yeah.
And shortly, is so common in social work is I wouldn't say it's a lack of self-care because I've always been very good at self-care. I would say I'm probably, people looking at me would say I'm pretty self-centered, but I really care about myself, and I know that if I don't take care of myself, I can't do anything else. So I don't think it was lack of self-care. I think it's just oftentimes in those intensive first responder type fields where you're constantly traumatized, there isn't adequate self-care. There's just not enough that can undo the damage that happens
Yeah.
in your head and your heart.
Yeah.
And so after that, I actually started experiencing some pretty significant pain. I was very heavy at the time, but still very active. I've always been heavy, and I've always been very active even with that. So I started experiencing back pain. My SI joint went all wonky,
Yeah.
and um, shortly, I wasn't at the time. At the time, I wasn't, putting pieces together. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
see pain as a communicator yet. I
Mm-hmm.
saw it as inconvenience, and
Mm-hmm.
so part of the reason why I really got into yoga was I wanted to address the pain,
Right.
and and jogging and power walking and all that weren't going to work for me then. It was getting cold, and my hips weren't working, so.
Right.
Um,
Wow.
and
So you're getting these messages, right, to like stop and come
stop.
right to your base of support, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, that's where
So,
the pain
yeah,
was.
right. So powerful.
And so, in fact, that was one of the very first classes that I went through when I joined the membership site was the chakra classes.
Yeah. Wow.
And
So
I
great.
stayed at that root chakra for a long, long
So
time.
good.
Um, but so that's kind of where the journey began. And that's when I look back on it now, I think that's when the Hannah inside me said, "You're done with this.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
done with this, and you've got to move on. You've got to go to a place where you can be healthy and whole again." Because after that incident, I couldn't do the work anymore, and I found myself over the next few years starting to damage people I was working with,
Mm-hmm.
damage clients and coworkers, and because there was such a toxicity in me after
Mm-hmm.
that whole thing. Um, but I'd worked really hard to become a social worker. I became a social worker because at one point we needed to keep the lights on, and an agency liked the particular collegiate mix I had and my experience in and out of religious work, and said, "We think you're a fit." And so I went to work, and I went to grad school, and I incurred great amounts of debt to become a
Wow.
master social
Yeah.
worker.
Right.
And I was very proud of that accomplishment. I wrote a brilliant thesis, and that was, published and spread out throughout California. And, I was speaking at different agencies. So, I had like this great big old social worker gig going on.
Yeah.
and and so it was really hard, and it took several years for me to accept that that I was done. And the other thing that, besides my own pride, that kept me from doing that was the paycheck. People say social work doesn't pay very well, but and I guess in the grand scheme of things, compared to the CEOs of big companies, it doesn't pay
Right.
very. But for the average Joe, I was getting a pretty good paycheck,
Hmm.
and I couldn't, in my head, I couldn't accept perhaps that maybe there were other avenues of getting a decent paycheck.
Compensated. Yeah.
And I remember, reading things like, studying the law of attraction and all,
Yeah.
and going back to my religious foundations where God will supply all your needs. And I just couldn't let go of this,
That's
state-funded
that's the
thing.
time in the ashes though, right? That's the time where, you are just it's the time where you are being asked to let go of
Mhm.
everything, right?
Of
Your
it.
identity, yeah, of everything, absolutely.
Yeah.
And
So,
it's so hard because you
yeah,
cannot see the next step. And that is
no,
part of
yeah,
it. That is
that's
absolutely part of it.
huge.
All your tools do not work at that time.
No, nothing works.
No.
And no, I got a lot of truth. I have a lot of truth. I've
Mhm.
got more truth than I know what to do with most of
Yeah.
the time. And
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 you have to
nothing.
come face to face with that. Like,
Yeah.
it's not until that acceptance is fully accepted
Yeah.
that there is that passage through, and that can take a long time too. That's uncomfortable too.
It took years. It took years. I mean, I first started toying with the idea of, so it's like early 2014, and I started toying with the idea of leaving social services. And I'm a musician from my birth. I have music in my DNA and in my bone marrows, and I've been a piano teacher on and off throughout my life, and do a lot of community and church music and stuff like that. And I started, this little thing started nagging inside of my head, well, you could teach music because that's what, that's always been my fallback when nothing else works. Do what you have in your hands, use what you have in your hands, and what my hands are, piano, and use your voice. I'm a singer, and teach that. And I thought, in our town, there is no way that's going to earn an income. you know,
Hmm.
it's a luxury in our community, not a right, or people don't look at it and say, oh, my kid needs this for their academic
Hmm.
performance. They're
Yeah.
thinking, I can't afford it.
Right. Yeah.
So but just in faith, and I hadn't left social services yet. I decided to open up a tiny little piano studio and see what would happen.
Hmm.
And in fall of 2014, I started teaching two students.
Good for you.
Two students. And all this time, I'm still doing yoga. I'm still listening to not just what I think what kept me coming back it wasn't the physical practice,
Hmm.
because there are times I can't do the physical practice, or I choose not to for whatever reason.
Hmm.
But it was the spiritual teaching that was really starting to seep in.
Hmm.
And um, you were doing a series on Hanuman.
Mm.
I love Hanuman.
Yeah. Wow.
He's
Such
such
a
a little,
great archetype and
I want to
and
say,
yeah.
because it just, and the one thing that really stood out to me was that class where we talked about Hanuman jumping over the ocean.
Yeah. Making the leap.
Yes, making the leap. And what really struck me was, because it's so much like me, Hanuman was such a little turd. He
Yeah,
was
it's true, right?
terrible.
It's true.
And
There's
so,
so many aspects to Hanuman.
he's got all this power and awesomeness inside of him, and he's just totally being a monster. And so, okay, you're not, we're just going to wipe
Yeah.
this from you, and you've got to earn it. You've got
Yeah.
to work your way. You've got to grow into your own shoes here, buddy. And then when he finally is able to make that leap and embrace that power and that divinity and that awesomeness, that really spoke to me during that time. And I think that's about the time I started, um, really looking at my belief structure, and the truth that I was trying to live, or that I said I believed in. And so, uh, and I wasn't out of the ashes yet. I wasn't out of this
Yeah.
tunnel.
No.
But I hung on to those things. You know what? Someday I'm going to be able to take this leap. And I
Yeah.
didn't know what that was going to look like. My health kept getting worse. I started going to physical therapy for my SI joint in my back, and about that time you released the Core Intelligence class in the
Yeah.
membership site, which I actually showed clips of it to my physical therapist so she could see what I was getting from you, and she just went all crazy over it.
I remember that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And she still recommends you. I don't know if anyone else has joined, but she still, like every patient she gets, you need to check this site out. You need to check
That's great.
West out. Um, but I kept getting more as I started taking my health, my physical health. I said, I have got to start somewhere, so I'm going to start with my physical health. Um, so I went and saw an endocrinologist. He diagnosed me with Hashimoto's thyroid disorder, and so I changed my diet, got rid of gluten, wheat products, started drinking more water. He encouraged me, keep with the yoga, keep with everything you're doing, and I started losing weight as I really, just focused on, okay, if I can do one thing, I can take my body back, because by that time I was pushing 300 pounds, and so I'd been gluten-free for a while, drinking lots of water, getting more and more activity as much as my hip would have let me do. And so I started losing weight. I kept growing more and more dissatisfied in social services. I'd come home, I'd teach my students and think, there's got to be a way I can do this. There's got to be a way I can do this and make it work for me. Because every morning I would wake up and think about going to work and just, I would just cry. I would just, and I had to knuckle down and do it. So earlier this year, I had an opportunity to go to a conference in Salt Lake City. It was a conference of choral conductors. One of the things I do as a musician is I am a leader in our community choir and a leader in our church choir. And so I went off, packed my pink duffel bag, and I went off to Salt Lake City for a week. And I was surrounded by music that I hadn't heard in so long. And it just, I started thinking about how over the last, almost 20 years, pretty much since the time I got married and husband and family and children and life became important rather than pursuing passion, I realized that I had kind of turned that part off of me. I'd walked away from dreams of being a professional musician and it just kind of survived. It's funny, I've got in my bathroom, I have a little vase, and it's got a Maya Angelou quote on it, and it says something like, to survive is good, to thrive is elegant. And I realized I wasn't thriving. And if I remember one thing about that conference is I'm sitting in workshops and concerts and things like that. If I remember one thing, it was I am absolutely miserable and my life has got to change.
Wow.
And I think that's where I hit my bottom, where I was like, I am covered in ashes. I can't find my way out of the ashes.
Yeah.
I am absolutely lost. And it's odd because I had been pain-free for about 3 months before I went to that conference. The whole week during that conference, I ached and ached and ached. Everything hurt. It was crazy. And so I came home, and within 2 weeks of this conference, the superintendent of our school district walked up to me one night and said, Hannah, we have a music opening in one of our elementary schools.
You didn't even seek it out?
You need to apply for it.
You're kidding me. I thought...
I went back to my job in social services and to get through my days, I would download choral CDs. And I'd put my headphones in. Whenever I wasn't working with people, I was plugged in so I could just keep hearing the music.
Wow.
And so 2 weeks after I got back, yes, I pretty much got a job offer. And I said, I don't have a teaching credential. I don't have a full music degree. She says, well, you apply and we'll see what we can do. And
Gosh.
so, anyway, about a month and a half or 2 months later, I got the job offer.
Wow.
And I had looked to see what our district was paying their teachers, and I'm thinking I have absolutely no public school experience. I've got private school experience. I have community experience. I have private studio teaching experience. I'm a published composer. I've got all this other extraneous experience. But if they're anticipating that they're hiring me at a first-year teacher salary, I was like, I started getting a little bit antsy about it. But they offered me the job, and I said, well, what is the salary? And they said, well, we don't know yet. You need to submit to us all of your experience, and then we'll see. And but for us to do that, you need to accept the job. So here I am standing at the ocean.
Yeah, no kidding.
And
the cliff.
Yeah, right. And so I thought, well, I talked about it with my husband, and he says, do it. Just do it.
Wow.
We'll figure it out. We've always figured it out. We've always made something work. And that's funny because, I think as people, we always make something work, and we forget how we've always made things work. Because every time it's a new thing, it's like, oh my gosh. Yeah. It's breaking out. It's like, wait a minute.
We are resilient and resourceful people.
Yes.
It's true.
And so I went ahead and I turned in my letter of resignation. I gave my agency 3 months notice. and I said, I'm taking a new position, and my last day will be August such and such. And then I put together all of my experience from about 1990 forward. And about a week after, so basically I jumped over the ocean. I jumped off the cliff.
Yeah.
And someone said, well, they must have offered you what you wanted. I said, I have no idea what they're going to offer me. Yeah. I just know I can't do this anymore, and I've got a door here, and it's open.
Yeah.
So if I don't go through it, it's my own fault.
Yeah.
And so about 2 weeks after I submitted that, they came back with my salary offer, and they credited me with 15 years of experience.
Wow. And
started me at the top of a master teacher salary level.
That's amazing, because you did have masters.
And so, I experienced absolutely no change in salary.
Wow, you're kidding me.
I'm not kidding you. Okay, so it might be $37 a week less. But I work 500 fewer hours a year now.
Yeah, wow.
And I have most Fridays off because we have a 4-day school week. Fridays off, summers off. I have 3 years to get my full teaching credential, and they'll help pay for that.
That's fantastic.
I mean, it's like all of a sudden, it's like Hanuman. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm on the other side.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Found the medicine.
Yeah, and so it really has been like, in all parts of my life, starting over. After I went to that conference, a couple significant things happened for me. While I was at that conference, I kicked my caffeine habit.
Mm-hmm. That could be why you were feeling so much pain, too. That could have contributed a bit.
Well, no, that was the headache for 2 days. But and it was a total accident that I kicked the caffeine habit. I was just too busy to find any coffee. But I got off of caffeine. I changed how I was eating even more, started to exercise more, took up cycling as soon as the weather was warm enough to do it. And so, I've lost now a total of 75 pounds.
Wow.
And I still find that, every time, whether I'm going through a Namaste yoga class or membership class, because I have my favorites that I go back to.
Mm-hmm. And we will get to those, but this is really powerful. I really want everybody to hear this.
But, every time I do a yoga class, there is something there for my spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said before, when I was in dancer pose the other day, it's like, I feel like I'm 19 again.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I've struggled with, and I started struggling with this about 2 years ago, about the time all this stuff started crashing in on me. I really struggled with age acceptance because I'm 45 now, I'll be 46 in just a few months. And I, my studies in psychology and human development, I know that the 40s are really significant for developing meaning in your life. And so at nearly 46, I was saying, what have I done with, my life means nothing.
Wow.
I've wasted, I would think about the music within me and think I've wasted 20 some years by not being able to see and honor and accept who I really was made to be.
Mm.
And I've consumed myself with keeping the rent paid and the lights on and doing what I need to do to survive, but I haven't thrived. And I'm 40. I may as well be dead, because there's
Yeah.
not enough time to live anymore. And I
That
think
was your language when you first came in. It was
yeah,
very centered around surviving.
yeah, and
Yeah.
and so the other day in Dancer Pose, I thought I feel 19 again. My whole
Yeah.
life started over again, and I feel better. I feel younger. I posted a before and after, or like a 1 year ago and a today comparison picture on Facebook a few
Yeah.
days ago, and I had people commenting, "You look younger than you did a year ago."
I'm sure.
So, and I wake up in the mornings now, and it's like when you wake up when you're 20 something. It's like I've got this whole life to live. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh,
That's
it's
amazing.
so awesome.
What really stands out to me about this story, your story, is that when we come to yoga and the way that we practice here at Namaste Yoga and in the membership community, I think that we come to be present with our full spectrum of emotions. So, yeah, emotions doesn't just mean I'm going to end up bawling on my mat one day, which, probably will happen when you come fully present, or
Yes.
I'm going to be totally angry or upset. But it also means being fully present with the joy that's going to surface as well. There's
Yeah.
the emotions are a full spectrum, like a rainbow. You're going to have lots of different flavors present. And so I think while the journey can be quite serious at times, it also can be, it is also very joyful.
It is.
Yeah.
There are days where my yoga practice is my prayer for the day, whatever I'm feeling that day, or, there it is. I don't have any words, but dang it, I've got pigeon.
Yeah.
And that can be my whole day.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's some days that your practice is going to be flaky, and there's some days that your practice is going to be deep. And that, if you're showing up every day, that's the truth of it, right?
Well, because we show up at life every day,
That's right.
whether or not our tree stands or falls over.
That's right. So I think that that's what stands out to me. I mean, there's a lot of things that stand out to me, but I think I want to just highlight that full spectrum of emotions. That we get to laugh, we get to cry, we get to be present with all of it. And I think sometimes we can take ourselves a little too seriously too. Like that's when you talk about the dancer pose, you keep coming back to that, right? Yeah,
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's kind of that's my life right now.
yeah, because thank God, right? Thank you,
Right.
you made it through, right? You made it through to dancer. Dancer was
Yeah.
at the other end, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I went to one of your meetups, and I've signed up for a few of them, and things come up and I can't always go, but and at that time it was interesting because you asked me what my favorite pose at that time was, and I said it was tortoise because I was just
Yeah,
so closed in. And that's where,
that's where it was.
I would stay in tortoise for like, 5, 6 minutes. But that's where I was.
Yeah.
I was just closed, and I think really needing to go in and nurture and protect.
Mhm.
And now it's just the opposite. It's like, whoa, I'm all here.
Yeah. And that's how practice is, especially when you show up every day over a number of years. It's going to evolve and shift and change, and to be present to yourself for those changes. I think that's a really powerful thing.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow, I'm really excited for people to hear this interview. It's great to be so fully present for your life and to have so much courage um, to show up and make those changes. And the other thing was, I think that stands out to me too now that you're on the other end. Like when you were in the ashes too, it felt like everything had to change. And now that I see that you're through it, I see that you were discerning about what had to change. Your identity had to change, and you changed your job. There was some time there in there where you were unsure about your relationship as well. But that didn't change as far as I
Nope,
know.
nope,
Yeah.
nope, did not.
Yeah. So it's that time in the ashes where you actually like question everything.
Everything.
And maybe even though the relationship status didn't change, it could be your ways of being in the relationship change. So even though it might feel like everything is changing, it's because we talked. You guys haven't got this class yet. You're getting it today. But I talked about in the Parigraha class in 299 this week, letting go of ways of being. So it might not be that you need to let go of a relationship, but that you have to let go of ways of being in a relationship,
Yeah,
that it gets built up again differently too.
yeah. And the fact that all this, I think that we get really busy just living and going forward and putting one foot in front of the other. And and what I've experienced the last few years, we joke about things like midlife crisis, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't think we respect the concept enough.
No.
And
It's a
that's
rite of passage, don't you think,
I
into those wise years? Like it's your rite of passage into becoming a crone, and
yeah.
it's
I
becoming a
struggle.
wise woman,
I don't
or
I
I
like
like
that
that
word.
word. I love
I
it.
like I like hot young granny.
Okay. I I just
um,
it's your rite of passage into becoming an elder, don't you think? I mean, and not all people are deserving of that term.
I think, and we color up our strands. We color our strands of
Yeah.
wisdoms,
Hmm.
and I'm very guilty of that.
Too.
I've
Well,
got
actually, I haven't. Well, I color my hair, but but I know what you're saying. Yeah.
and I was even thinking the other day, you know, as people were saying, you don't look any older than 33, 35, whatever. And I'm thinking, yes. And then I thought, you know what? I don't even think we know what middle and old age looks like
No,
anymore.
yeah, it's
We're
true.
such a youth-centric culture,
Yeah.
and when it does start popping out, the first reaction is like, ooh, gotta cover that up, gotta. And I'm still not in a place where I can let mine grow out, but we're as a society, and this is the social worker in me coming out. As a society, um, we are redefining middle and old age every day, and we're taking away. I think we've taken away the honored place
Hmm.
of the ancients.
Hmm.
And my husband is Native American. He's from the Nez Perce tribe, and every now and again we'll go into our community's historical museum, and we'll look at pictures of his ancestors because he's local. He's descended from a local tribe, and there's such a dignity and a grace in those wrinkled old tribal elders,
Hmm.
and a joy in their eyes
Hmm.
that you don't see anymore. I live not too far from a senior housing complex, and the people that I see there are not dignified
Hmm.
and joyful. They are forgotten.
Hmm.
And I think, I'm as guilty as anyone. I'm trying to not go there.
Hmm.
I'm trying so hard to avoid that. And this particular rite of passage, it had me questioning, you know, the thought of loss of youthful vitality, the loss of maybe being attractive to someone else, because you hit 40 something and it's like, I just want to turn someone's head. Wouldn't that be nice?
Hmm. Hmm.
Those youthful things that really, that made you feel like you were who you were 20 years ago.
Hmm.
And, um, not feeling beautiful anymore, not feeling valuable.
Hmm.
And that was part of my ash heap,
Hmm.
mourning that loss, mourning the person that I was at 20 that caused ruckus in the local mall because I was so good looking. Oh, I got some vanity there. But when everything was coming down and I couldn't find anything to hold on to,
Yeah.
you know, and that, I did question everything. Is this marriage for me? Is this
Hmm.
job for me? Is this belief system for me?
Hmm.
I don't know.
Hmm.
I actually told a friend at the time, I don't think I believe in anything anymore, and I
Yeah.
certainly didn't believe in myself.
Hmm.
So to have come out of that, oh, to come out of that, I almost could probably let my hair go gray. Maybe not. I don't know.
I think it's our shadows that laugh at that, but it's a huge cultural
Yeah.
uh, un unconscious around that, and um, I do hope and pray there is a shift around that and a return to an embracing of wisdom. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what our future holds as a culture around embracing wisdom. I do know that there seems to be a lot of value around what we do for work, and
Yeah.
and once the work is done, you are no longer valued, and we Tim and I have noticed and brought awareness to the way we even are guilty of that with our own parents,
Yeah.
the way their self-worth has, the way their self-worth is not as valued now that they are no longer working. And that is a problem in our culture. Um, you know, how can our elders have meaning now that they are no longer working?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
that's an important question for us as a culture, and I think it is the sense of disconnection that we have in our culture too. The elders used to be more connected to our children as well too, and have meaning with them.
Yeah. It's interesting. Several years ago, my husband and I, we adopted a Hmong refugee from Thailand, and he's long since grown up now. But I really started studying those Southeast Asian cultures when we did that, and to this day, those cultures, grandparents are responsible for raising children,
Yeah,
because parents are out, keeping the lights
working.
on,
Yeah,
and the grandparents are doing the parenting.
yeah.
And I thought that is so much more. That's so healthy, you
Yeah.
know,
There's a
because
value to that.
we're working. I mean, come on,
Yeah,
I raised 4 kids
it's
while working, and you're raising a kid while working, and
it's
that is
ridiculous.
yeah. And there's no way. And I see our kids are paying the price of that
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
You know,
It's ridiculous to think that we can do it all. It's arrogant, actually.
yes. And about what you said, I think something that my yoga journey has helped me develop. As a social worker, I was always and I will continue. I will always be a social worker because it's such a part of who I am now. Whether I do it as a music teacher or whatever, it
Hmm.
doesn't matter. But I'm always very interested in individuals, and our society reflects a loss of value for humanity.
Hmm.
We value product. We
Yeah.
value profit. For the Star Trek people out there, we're very Ferengi. It's all about the profit,
Hmm.
all about how much gold we can get for it. It's not about the value of the person.
Hmm.
And so what you're saying is that with our elders, when they can't turn a profit anymore, they
Hmm.
have no value, and
Hmm.
we have forgotten that people, you know, I'm not honoring and respecting the divine in a dollar bill. I honor and respect the divine in you,
Yeah.
and we have lost that sense of divinity, and that is something that the yoga journey has helped me regain.
Hmm.
Is that whether or not, and this is something that actually as a state-funded social worker, I came into conflict a lot, but in my personal social work and now teaching practice, every person I come into contact with is divine. is, part of that greater whole, that greater thing that we all belong to, and I honor that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I think, the importance of yoga is. Every time we close that class with namaste, or we seal our practice and extend its benefits to the world, everything I do is going to touch someone else,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's done in my living room or on Main Street or in the classroom. Or on Facebook, social media, it's going to touch someone else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and as yogis, we have a responsibility to care for ourselves and then to be mindful of how we interact in the world. I think, yeah. Okay. And I think, then there's this edge too, because we do live in a pecuniary world where things do cost money and where we do have to pay the bills, and
Yes.
So then there's that
Horrible.
that concept.
Horrible.
I know, unfair.
I hate money. My husband jokes with me because I come from a Jewish background, and he says it's all about the money. It's like, no, really, I hate money. I think it's a man-made construct that we don't need.
Yeah. Well,
there's no reason why we can't all just give value to each other.
Yeah. Well, I was having a conversation about it this week with my yoga teacher in one of my sessions with her, and she said, if you were living however many years ago, you would be cared for to do the work that you do. You would just, somebody else would feed you and put you up, and you would just be looked after to do the spiritual work that you're doing.
Yep.
You wouldn't have to ask for money, but that's not the world we live in now.
No, it's not.
So that's part of our lesson too, right? Is to straddle that line, to walk that tightrope, and to become comfortable with that edge too.
Do it with grace and ease.
Yeah. So there you go. Now, I do feel that after being so moved by your journey, people are going to want to know what practices you return to again and again. So I would like to be able to share that with them in the time that we have remaining.
So I did. This is going to be funny. I did think about this one. Of all the questions you asked, this is the one I thought about. Oddly enough, the practices I return to, you're probably going to crack up, are the morning and evening. The ones that we get when we sign up.
Yeah.
Because, yoga for me is such a prayer that, if I can reconnect with the AM and the PM yoga,
Yep.
And in the AM yoga, it's especially right now, it's that breath of joy.
Mm-hmm.
Starting your day with breath of joy and that exhilaration of being alive. And then with the PM yoga, all right, the day is done, gone the sun, all is well, safely rest. And it's just like an opening and a closing prayer to the day. And if nothing else, because you've got so much awesome stuff on there. I don't have time to do all this.
No, nobody does. And that's a really good awareness and discerning as well.
Yeah. And so, you know what? Like for instance, this week, I stepped away from physical practice this week because my body needed more sleep. I needed to sleep. With my new job. My sleep patterns have been all readjusted, and I have to get up earlier, and I'm trying to go to bed earlier, but that doesn't always work because I am literally on the move from 7:30 in the morning when I go to work until 9 o'clock at night. Mm-hmm. And so I thought, so I stepped away from physical practice this week so I could get rest. Mm-hmm. And I thought, where am I going to start up again? I said, AM and PM. Let's start there. Let's open the day and close the day, and we'll see where it goes. When I have pain, and I still have pain now and again, although I have been pain-free this time, my SI joint has not said a word for about 4 days. Mm-hmm. When I do start feeling that tightness again, I go back to Intelligent Core and all your myofascial work.
Okay.
That's kind of where I hang out.
Yeah.
Either AM and PM or the different fascial stuff, and also your Yoga for Strength series.
Yeah, that's a good one, and I don't know that a lot of people know about that one. So the fascial stuff is mostly in postures and pranayama, so people can find that one. And this is another kind of there's some good fascial stuff in that Intelligent Core class. But the strength one, let's go to that one because it's maybe a little bit lesser known one. Tell people about that one while I find it.
That one, because I've got my SI joint issues. That intelligent core class taught me so much, and I confirmed all this with my physical therapist. That's why she got so excited, because there's actually a yoga teacher out there that wasn't all fluffy and you know, silly, and that actually knew what she was talking about. And it taught me so much about physiology. I am not a science person. I'm not a biology person. And so to learn about the psoas muscles and the different joints and how they're connected by fascia and all this, I've got a lot of core issues, having come from a very heavy existence. My core is not in good shape. And so that Yoga for Strength series
Yeah.
has helped so much with core and back conditioning.
Yeah.
And I sit up straight now. The last time I went through the core series, I couldn't believe it. I could hold plank. I'm not one of those plank challenge people, and I've heard horrible things about that plank challenge for people who aren't already fit.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but I couldn't believe that, I could do a lot of that plank, or the plank work, where you've got the like the, oh, I don't know what they
The
are, but where
rotation
you're
and
folding.
stuff.
Yeah, but it's helped so much with core strength and alleviating my SI problems. See, look how cute you are.
Yeah, I was quite thin then. That was when I was really not as well as I am now.
Um,
Um,
but
so
it's
this class, this series has weights in it, and the thing is, yoga people, it's not all about flexibility. We need strength too, and that's true in our lives, right? We can't be complete pushovers. We can't just be completely flexible with everybody all the time, right? There are times when we need to stand up and show our strength, right? There are times when we need to pull out that Kali archetype. We need to
yeah,
stand in our warriors, and it's all about balance. It's about embracing the opposites. And so, being completely flexible leads to problems. Like if you're doing pigeon till the cows come home and cow's face and your hips are like wonky wonky, then you're going to have SI joint problems. It's the dirty little secret of the yoga world. And if you have SI joint problems, then you need to be doing chair pose, you need to be doing bridge pose, you need to be doing your warriors, you need to be doing your standing postures where you're building strength. And you should be hanging out in the strength series.
yeah, and so I do hang out there, and probably about once a month I'll go through that strength series. Um, So that brings me, I think, if I had to tell anyone why I practice yoga, it would be that. Because, when I first saw yoga, like almost 40 years ago, it was this skinny little older woman who, had her head to her toes, and was all just so bendy and wonderful, and, think 70s hippie yoga.
Yeah,
And,
yeah,
and, and, and there is a kind of a glam sort of stereotype to it. But yoga, when my SI joint went all crazy, and the pain, I realized I'm never going to be, and as a larger person that's very fibrous, that's how my physical therapist described me,
yeah.
as very
You're a
fibrous.
kapha, and
Yeah, oh,
like I
absolutely.
can't stop being a vata, so I'm always going to be
Yeah,
thin and frail.
yeah,
That's just me, right?
yeah.
My
No,
daughter's pitta, she's very athletic build.
yeah,
Tim's kapha.
I am,
We
I am,
are Yeah, we are all different
yeah.
constitutions, and once you accept and embrace your constitution,
And so I think I remember one day, I don't remember when it was, but we were in a sitting forward fold. And I love how you say just go as far as you can go. And I was keeping in mind, because I have SI joint issues, I really have to
you
stop
really do in those
when I
forward
get to
folds.
that point when I can't go anymore. There's no more. And I remember just coming to a peace with it, saying, you know what, this is who I am. This is how far I
Yeah,
can go, and this is beautiful, and that's enough. And so yoga has really helped with acceptance of who I am.
yeah, yeah.
And yes, I am. I had a doctor who once called me, what did he call me? A Valkyrie warrior princess.
A what warrior princess?
A Valkyrie warrior princess.
Yes.
So I'm gonna go out and be Wonder Woman, you know.
Yeah, baby.
And so, yeah.
Gosh, did I have a different outfit on for? Oh no, I didn't. That's good. I'm like, wow, I think I had a different outfit for every single class in this one. Yeah, this is a good series to bring. I think I've shown everyone now. Uh, but yeah, that's a good one. Um, not a bad one to do. A good, good one for any time of year. Good one to bring that strength coming into winter. It's a good one for any time of year.
Yeah. I also like your I don't go to it often. I probably need to do it this week. I totally was a bad girl, and as a kapha, I know better. But sometimes the chocolate just is the chocolate, and and I felt a little bug coming, having transitioned into, from seeing 20 or 30 kids a week in my social work caseload to teaching 480 children every
Yeah,
week. I have been under barrage fire from germs and germs
yeah.
and germs, and I have upped my vitamins and all that, but I knew at the
Good.
beginning of the week that something was coming, and I just went for the sugar and the chocolate
Yeah,
and
probably
brought
the
it on. So
worst.
I will
Yeah,
be going to that yoga for
immunity
immunity
boost.
support.
Yeah, that's a
Yes,
really good
I
one.
like that one too. That one
Yeah.
clears my sinuses every time.
This one I used to love because I used to teach it with my classes, and there was a point in this class. This video,
Love that.
this is like 8 years old now. See, you can. I look back at this and it's like your experience of yourself and dancer. It's like, who is that person? Um, there's this part in the class, and I think it's when you come to down dog where we'd have to press the tissues. So when you say yeah, yeah.
Yep.
So it's powerful. But you did the right thing sleeping this week. That's the most powerful thing. You need to
Yep.
sleep. The other, I'm sure there's more than two Hannahs in the membership community, but um, the Hannah, oh gosh, her last name's gone right now.
Is it Gilly?
Yes, Hannah Gilley. She's recommended this book no, several times to me, and I finally got it. Take a Nap and Change Your Life. And so, yeah, I've been reading that book and re.
Yes. And as a teacher, I don't get a nap very often.
No, you wouldn't. You
And
can't.
as a
Well, you could
music,
when you come home from work. You could take a short one at the end of your day.
yeah, itty bitty, itty bitty. I
Yeah.
wanted to,
Is there anything else you want to show people
no,
or tell us before
I
we?
was
I know we
look,
need to hop right off at
I was
9:30.
kind of looking because I really wanted people to see the difference, and it might be hard because it's a Facebook photo, but I wanted to show, that's not a very good one. I
Are,
wanted to show people the difference in me. So this is from,
are we
I don't know.
friends on Facebook?
Yes, we
Oh,
are.
well, I can show them on our screen then.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, well, I'll just do that year before and after.
Is it, you've got a before and after picture?
Yeah, it's on my profile,
Well, I can
my
go over to
page.
yours.
Yeah, and it's a little down. But this is just the last year, and this shows about a 50-pound weight loss. And for me, it hasn't all been about the weight loss because I kind of
Nice
gave up.
profile picture.
Oh, thank you. That's a selfie. I love selfies because I can manipulate how I look.
It's true.
I can avoid the jowls. There is a picture of, like, that shows a change in a year. And like I said, it's not all been about past all the recipes and stuff because I'm a recipe freak. Um, I've just got to find it.
Oh, that's a great witchy Hello October.
Oh, I love it. I love okay, it's down. It's dated September 27th, but
Okay, I'm almost there.
yeah, there's a
The
before and after.
anticipation is building.
I know. It's kind of crazy. Oh yeah, it's past the fart squirrel. That's really funny if you want some funny
You're a
animal
very
pictures.
active poster on Facebook.
I am crazy. I love my technology, and if it makes me laugh, especially at the end of a school day, yeah, I have to be really careful not to spend too much time on it. And I've got almost 800 friends on Facebook, so I'm looking at all their stuff too.
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
Okay, we're
it's
getting there.
keep going.
28
Oh,
pasta
see,
recipes.
yes, and
27.
I don't write.
Oh,
Okay,
have you read the Big
no,
Magic book yet?
I want to read it.
Me too.
I want to.
Okay. Oh, here we are.
There it is. So there's my 1 year.
Wow. Yep.
So, and even happy a year ago looked different than happy now.
Yeah, yeah, very, very different smile.
So, anyway, but you've been a major part of my journey over the last few years, and I'm grateful.
Well, I really appreciate it. It's been a joy to witness, and I really appreciate your posts on the forum because they do go so deep and you do engage. I appreciate your practice, and I appreciate you posting about your practice because I learn a lot from your posts, and I do appreciate hearing about it. They inspire me, and I'm sure they inspire many others in our community as well. So keep posting, keep on keeping on, and keep engaging in your practice in such a deep and meaningful way, and keep having those joyful, teenage or young adult dancer moments too. Like go for the joy too. Enjoy the
Yeah,
breath of joy. Allow your practice to be multidimensional, right?
right.
There are times for the descending journey and there are times for the ascending journey too. It can be both, and there are
Yeah,
times to flake out as well.
terribly glad I'm on the ascending side of it.
Yeah, it feels a lot better. It
Yes.
feels a lot better. And yeah, and there's no way out of that descending journey when it calls.
No, no. It's just like once you're pregnant, you're pregnant. You gotta get through it.
It's true.
Ugh.
Yeah, too bad that
So,
descending journey sometimes takes longer than 9 months, but
oh, that's true. That's true. Very true.
and there's no like kind of definitive timeline to it, but
No, no due date on it. It just, I realized just a few mornings ago, I woke up and it's like, hey, I'm on the other side.
yeah,
I started waking up with joy again,
yeah.
you know.
Well, I'm
So,
really happy for you. And thank you so much for taking the time this morning to do this interview. I'm really excited for our members to be able to watch it. Do you have any questions that you want people that you want to throw out there, or you want people to ask, or comments that you're interested in? Or okay,
nope.
I will have to come up with a brilliant one. Thank you so much, Hannah, and
All right.
enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.